Small bonus to columns painted. Okay. So I'm just going to copy those into my nulled folder. Small column 1. We're going to be converting all these to JPEGs anyway, so. Okay, now those textures are actually not for this model, they're for the slightly curved piece, so me copying them there was a waste of time. I'll move them in a minute. Let's go to small column 2. Yeah, these are the curved sections, so those textures are for the curved pieces. So I think what we did with the straight pieces, because we only use 2 of them in the model on the straight here and here, and I have a feeling we created one texture and we rotated it 180 degrees so that we didn't have to create 2 textures. But these curved pieces are used all the way around the outside, so we created 4 versions for them, 4 different textures for them. But we can keep our settings here all the same that we used for the straight section piece, so we don't have to change any of that. We do have to change our path though. To small column 2. And we're going to update our integrator again. And export. Now the program was actually smart enough to put those, remember when I used SAP Visual Enterprise, it knew that it had another 3 different versions for that texture, so, oh, no it didn't actually, they're a height, normal and thing from this one. Ignore what I've just said. What we're going to do though is copy those textures into to the right folder, so this one. And just so I don't confuse myself, I'm going to delete these ones. Okay, column 3, column 4, painted, right, da 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 da. This texture is actually the one that SAP saved automatically as a PNG. It's a copy of this one right here. So that one can go. Right, normal occlusion. You want this one. No. Now I'm getting confused. Yeah, no, I'm getting confused. Let's move on to another model here. We'll just leave it as the one texture for that for the moment until I can work out what's going on there. The columns back I know only uses one texture, so we won't have a problem there. Alright. And again though, it's the same model, same normal maps will be good, so we just got to change our path. Got to find where it is. Small column 2, small column back. Okay. Let's update our integrator and export. Let's have a look at this one. Tool deco, right? Okay, these are these decorations at the very front of the model here. Just Trying to remember if I used one texture or two. I think I used two for these. I'm going to double check. No, actually, I think I used one and rotated at 180 degrees. That's what I did. All right. Let's make sure we change our path. And play with our normal maps here a bit. This one will pull up on the extra large detail. We'll pull up a bit on the large detail. The fine detail, pull back a bit on that. And the extra fine detail, again, I'm going to pull back a bit on that as well. Let's update our integrator and export. Okay, now these are the three lamp pieces that are at the back. And again, it's made up of about 8 different or 10 different textures, the same as the one at the front. So these ones at the back are what we're working on. They're going to be using the same textures as these ones at the as this one at the front. So because they're using the same textures, we could probably cheat here and instead of recreating them again, because it's the same model, it's just a different shape for the model. Let's see, what have we got here? Dryland, what's this? Light base. Angel lamp, that's the one we want. Instead of me recreating all of those normal maps and height maps, because it's using exactly the same textures, I'm just going to copy them over. That just saves us having to redo them again. There's no point. Because they're exactly the same textures. I know that because I made the model and I copied them. So basically what I did was I took this lamp and duplicated it here, changed the base a little bit, like instead of it going down into a point like it does here at the front, I removed the bottom and made a base for it, and then I just threw a bend on it to create a bit of a bend and make it look a bit unique and a little bit different. But it's basically the same thing. Even these pieces here are just this centerpiece that have been scaled down a bit, and then, like I said, use a bend to bend them, and then I just pull them forward to give the lamp a bit more of an interesting shape. That saves us a bit of time there. I'm just going to try and work out now what's going on with these curved pieces of geometry here. I think what I actually did was I didn't copy the, I don't know why I wouldn't have done that though. I think, trying to remember if I copied the same set here or if I made a unique set when I painted these up. And I can't remember. I'm assuming I made a unique paint for these for some reason. I don't know why. It seems odd. I don't know why I would have done that. I'm just going to double check again what these textures are. Okay, so it's using the textures through here, through this row. Painted R2, and should be R3. Yep. And R4. Yep. Okay, let's see which one this one's using. Okay, this one's using R2, so that makes sense. what I'm going to do here is I'm going to export a second version of that curved banister. I will save it as an FBX. We'll try bringing it directly in from Max here as an FBX. Internaled from Max as an FBX instead of going through the OBJ FBX conversion thing. So let's see. This one's called Small Column 1 or 2? I think it's 2. I didn't mean to do that. FBX. Small column 2. FBX. I'm going to call it R2, but R2 for revision 2. Save. No, I don't want to replace it. Right. I'm just going to leave it on the defaults, and I use a preset just called FBX 2013 because you can use different versions of FBX. If you're saving out in Max, you can go from version 2013, 14, 15, 16. They're all revisions on each other. I always take it down to one of the lower versions because that makes it the most compatible with different software if you're trying to export it from Max to bring it into another piece of 3D software, say Mari or something. So I always choose version 2013 instead of going up to 2016. You see you've got all these different versions you can save it out as an FBX version. I generally stick to 2013 because I found that the most compatible with all different types of software. If you go with the very latest version, you may find that it won't load up your FBX file in this other software if you're trying to import it. Alright, let's go back into that folder. Small column 2. Let's try loading up the R2 version of that texture and the R2 version of our model. Let's see if that'll fix it up. No. I'm going to keep going until I get the right texture here. Nope. Okay, so the model is the same, it's just the texture that changes. Okay, fine. What we're going to do here to create these normal maps is I'm just going to load them up and not pull in the model and do the conversion. So I'm going to go with R2. I'm just going to leave it as a cylinder for at this stage because I don't want to change any of these settings. I want them all to be the same. Again, I'm going to pull back on the large and very large detail, even the medium detail. I'm going to pull up on the fine and the extra fine bit. Update the integrator. Change our path. On there. Do an export. Load in our other texture maps here, which is R4. Again, I'm going to leave all the settings the same. Update the integrator and export. Okay, I think we should be done with null now. Actually, let's just have a look at the model here and make sure I've got everything I want. Alright, so got those, got those, got those, got those, got that. The only other thing I was considering normal mapping with these base pieces down here, but again, I don't really think, you probably know, they're not really going to benefit too much. They're right, they're a small piece of geometry at the base of the model. When the model is actually in an environment, they're generally going to be hidden by either grass or other parts of the environment. So I don't think they're really going to be needing a normal map. They run around the outside of the model. It's just like a base for the terrace itself. But yeah, I don't, you could normal map it, but I don't think you're really necessary. It's not really necessary. And again, we're always trying to save as much memory space as we can when we're doing these sort of renderings. So that's why I'm going to be converting again to JPEGs as opposed to Targa. Even though my PC has a lot of memory and it's not generally a problem for me, I'm using 32 gigs of memory. I still like to do it, number one, because if I'm exporting the model for sale, it makes the file size much smaller for people to download. And number two, just because it does help with using less memory on your machine. Particularly if you're using a program like EonView, where you'll get into billions of polygons when you start, or tens of billions of polygons when you start setting up a 3D environment with vegetation. Like I said, View handles those billions of polygons well, but you will use up some memory doing it. So all the help you can give it, the better. I think that's all about normal maps. So like I said, I'm not doing the statues. I'm not doing the wrought iron on the dome. I'm not doing the urns. I'm not doing these small circular decorations here on the top of the columns. Again, because they're small, I don't think you'll really need normal map on them. Everything else, so I think we've normal mapped up, and we should be good to start attaching this model together now so that we can export it and bring it into EonView. So that's what we'll be doing soon. I'm going to take a quick break for a couple of minutes, guys. I just want to grab a fresh cup of coffee. As you guys know, it's what keeps me going. So I will be right back in just a couple of minutes. I'll leave you with my Be Right Back music. Okay, back again. So what we're going to do now is we should be finished with working in null for the normal mapping. What we can start working on now is starting to attach our model together and doing an export so we can bring it into EonView. So what I'm going to do is going to close down null just so I don't have it running in my background. Now, for my workflow, and this is what I suggest you do if you're doing a model like this and you want to take it into view and that type of thing. I've saved out this model with everything unattached, and I've called it my garden terrace final, because this is, if I ever want to come back and make any changes, everything is still the way I created it. I can easily change it. I don't have to select it and detach it if I wanted to change it. So my final version is everything unattached. Everything textured up the way I want it, all unattached, easy to change. Everything is named, it's all good to go. What we're going to be doing though to bring it into EonView, to make it easy for people to select the model in the program and move it around, is we're going to start attaching all these pieces together. Once we've attached them, we're going to save it out as a second version, which we're going to call final_attached. So we have our final file, and then we have our final attached file. We'll keep two different versions. So let's start doing that, I think. We're also going to convert all of the textures to JPEGs, but we'll do that after we've done the attach. So let's start at the top and work our way down. I'm going to collapse my stack here down to a edit poly. I'm going to go through my geometry and do that for different pieces of my meshes, so that just in case, because when you start doing an attach on a really complex piece of geometry like this, Max can sometimes crash. Thank you for the host, Scale, and thank you very much. I appreciate that. I haven't seen you around much lately. I looked on your channel the other day. I see you've been playing some games. Haven't been doing a lot of 3D. Hope you're okay. Last time I spoke to you, you were having migraine, so yeah, thank you for the host, and I hope you're well. Sometimes you can crash max when you start doing an attach with a complex piece of geometry like this, so it helps to make sure that the different pieces are collapsed down to the stack is collapsed down. So see, this for instance has a lot of modifiers on top of it. Collapsing it down just makes it easier on max. So, and I'm assuming most 3D software will be like that. If you're just not sure, it always helps to break everything down to its base if you work with a modifier stack like that before you start doing your attaches. And it can be a bit time consuming, but it is probably worth it, like I said, just to make sure you don't crash your program. You know, instead of me doing it this way, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my stack here and use it to select my geometry. So, and then just check my modifier stack over here. And that way I'll be sure I won't miss anything. What I generally would suggest doing once you've done this collapse as well is to save out your final file here with all of this collapsed down. I won't be doing that simply because Max is, when it loads and saves files now, seems to take forever. I don't want to sit here twiddling my thumbs and have you guys just staring at Max doing a save, so I'll do this again off stream for my final version. But yeah, my suggestion would be once you've done all of this collapsing to resave out this file as your final unattached version before you start doing the attaches. Like I said, I know it's a bit tedious, but it really will help Max to, when it comes time to see how many modifiers are in that stack. When it comes time to do all the attaches, it really does help the program cope with it all. I don't know if you guys were watching last week or the week before when I was doing my collapse on these light fixtures. It crashed Max at the end of my stream, and I have a feeling that was because I didn't do any of my collapses before I started doing the attaches. So Max can be very temperamental. And even though this can be a bit of a nuisance, having the modifier stack here in Max is a lifesaver, so that if you do want to change your mind and you've done something, you can just jump back in the stack here to fix it up. And unfortunately I can't multi-select and collapse. That's just not the way it works in Max. When it does come time to do the attach, there is an option in Max in its utility panel called collapse, which means you take all of the pieces of geometry that you've selected and hit that button. But I wouldn't advise you do it, simply because on a multi-material object like this, it has a really bad habit of messing up all your materials. So while you might think it's a time saver to hit that button that says multiple collapse, don't do it. It'll take you much longer to undo all of that and do it manually. That's for the benefit of guys, of course, if you're using Mac. There was a setting I came across too, actually, because I was trying to track down why all of a sudden Max is taking so long to save and load files. So I've been on their forum, Autodesk's 3D Studio Max forum, and there was a suggestion by one guy which I implemented just before I started the stream today, which was to change some settings in my preferences, and it did seem to make a difference. What I've noticed is it's taken my model here, instead of me using 21 megabytes of memory, computer memory, which is what it was using, it's taken that back down now to 12 megabytes. And instead of using 7 gigabytes of GPU memory, it's now taken that back down to 5. So those changes do seem to have made some sort of difference to the program. And basically all it was turning off some of the settings that it automatically saves out when it saves a file. And again, like I said, you guys, when I started streaming, I was working in Max 2017. I've since gone back to using Max 2016 because 2017 is really way too buggy. I couldn't use the DirectX 11 viewport in Max 2017. I had to use DirectX 9 because it used to crash my computer. I'm using DirectX 11 in 2016 here though. And DirectX 11 is much better to use than DirectX 9. So. But it's not an option if you're using Max 2017 and Windows Anniversary Update Windows 10. Believe me, I've been complaining long and loud on their forum about it. So hopefully they'll fix it up. Mind you, Max 2018 is due to be released in the next couple of months, so. In typical Autodesk fashion, they will probably ignore the problem and then fix it when they release 2018. It's a real problem though for people that are on their subscription model now, where you've got to pay monthly for the software. The only version they have access to is 2017, so, you know, if that's the case, then they'd be well and truly buggered if they're using Windows 10. Thankfully, I have licenses for going back to 2015, so I can just, and I always keep the previous version installed anyway, just for these sort of problems. Do remember guys, though, while I'm doing this, if you do have any questions for me, feel free to pop into chat and ask me. If you have any work you want me to look at, I'm always happy to look at your work. Like I say, I'm not here just to work on my own stuff. I'm here on Twitch so that I can interact with you guys and look at what you're working on. You just want to pop in and say hi, that's always cool. If you just want to watch, then that's completely fine as well. We're getting there. There's 56 of those supports, so you know, these supports that run around the outside of the banisters. alright? Finally finished with those supports. Max, Sniper Echo says the Max subscription must be a pain too. So many right now. Yeah, everything seems to be going that way. I know, you know, Adobe have done that with their Photoshop and their line of software as well. It is a pain. Real pain. Not necessarily. Look, for a lot of people, it's probably good. They don't have to. If they only use the software occasionally, then it's not a problem for them because it's cheaper than spending thousands of dollars to buy, say, the Adobe suite of software. So if you're only using it occasionally, perhaps, or you're only using one program from it, maybe just Photoshop, I guess it works out quite well for you. But if you're a professional or a designer that uses their software a lot, which means you've always got to have your subscription up to date, it's going to cost you more in the long run to do it that way. And that's the reason they're doing it. They're not doing it to benefit you. They're doing it to benefit themselves because they know that they'll make more money that way. And they sell it by saying, well, you know, it keeps your software up to date automatically for you. You don't have to worry about it. Well, that's never been a problem for me in the past updating my software. So, you know, that excuse really doesn't fly with me. And it will end up costing more in the long run than just buying the software and having the license forever. Because remember, as soon as you stop paying that monthly subscription fee, you lose access to that software. It's not yours. You're renting it. You're not really buying it. You're just renting it. And like I said, for people that don't need to use the software all the time, that's probably a very good way for them to go. Or maybe even large teams of people that want to use it. I'm not really up on what their subscription model is for large organisations and lots of users, but maybe it's better that way. But certainly for me, I don't like it. It costs me more in the long run. But they don't give you the choice. Now with the new versions, you've got to go on subscription. Thankfully, Max, though, for 2018 it will be that way, but for 2017 they did give people the option that had permanent licenses to upgrade to a permanent, which is what I did. I don't have a subscription for Max, but it looks like I'll have to with 2018 if I want to update to it. Although if I do update to it, they better make sure the program bloody well works. Our Ivies should all be okay, so it's alright. Yeah, so number one, you end up paying more for it. Number two, you can have problems like I've just described with Autodesk in 2017 where the software just doesn't work. Not work properly anyway. So you're paying a subscription for something that isn't working. Yeah, no, it's not a good model, Sniper Echo. It's really not. Like I said, it's not. If you're only using the software maybe once or twice a year, yeah, sure, fine. You know, you rent it for a month and then you let your subscription go and you don't take it out again until you need it. But for people that use the software all the time and need to have access to it all the time, then they've got to keep their subscription going all the time and it costs more. And like I said, that's why they're doing it. They know they make more money. It's a real shame too because there aren't a lot of options. Other software you can go to, say if you're using the Adobe suite of software. I know there are alternatives, like I use Adobe Premiere and After Effects. I know I could use Sony Vegas and that type of thing, but there comes a point too when you've been using software so much for so long, because Adobe have been around for decades, and you get used to how to do things. You don't really want to go switching it out. And then, of course, they play on that as well. They know that, so they get you no matter how you go. You'll find too, I'm looking at my memory here, while I'm doing these collapses, it's freeing up memory as well, which is an added benefit of taking everything back to the base edit poly modifier. Max doesn't have to keep this extra information in memory, so it's freeing up computer memory. Okay, the urns are okay, they will never modify. It's okay, it's okay. That one's okay. That one's okay. That one's okay. And that one's okay. The columns should be okay. Now the angels. Okay. I was going to say the angels should be okay, but we have a few copies of the UVs there for some reason. We're almost there. Probably the quietest I've ever been on stream for ever. Generally always talking. Gives you guys a bit of a chance to listen to the music in the background instead of hearing me all the time. There's just not much I can say while I'm doing this. Okay.
Come to the sun with me, so I can show you something you've never seen.
So anyway, getting back to Max in 2018, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with that Autodesk do with that version of the software, whether they add anything useful new to it. That's the other problem though with them, they tend to not fix the problems that they currently have, and they add new features which make more problems. And I know that they release service packs, and I always encourage anyone that uses Max or any Autodesk product to make sure they install all those service packs, because they do try to fix problems. I remember when Max 2017 was first released, you couldn't export OBJs, it completely messed them up. You couldn't even import them. That was how they released the software, that was the first version in 2017. I don't think it was until Service Pack 2 that they fixed it. I mean, that's just outrageous.